won't move forward on this until they've had a chance to review it. We've also won't move forward until Luke at our fire district has had a chance to go over it, make sure that everybody's had their time to comment on it, and we can address those comments appropriately before we issue this out to bid.
I'm just curious, this line that goes from the town's water line down to the airport, if there's a problem with that or somebody wants to hook into it, is that our line or is that the city's line or is it who's maintaining it?
It is our line, we're responsible for it. They would still have to pay, as I understand it, they would have to pay for a tap fee. How that works out with the town and the tap fee, I've never gone through that process, but that person would then need to get that tap and get approved through the town. And then we still would be responsible for any breakage, any issues with the water line, and then the town would essentially be the one selling the water to that property. And so they would still need to go through the town. It's, as I understand, it'll be real similar to the way our existing water line is, where we have 3 private residents that are tapped into our water line now that serves the airport. Any other questions on this project?
No, I'm pleased you're moving forward with it that fast.
Yeah, we, I think, when we have those signed easements, there'll be a sigh of relief, and then of course, once I have those bids back, we have a contract for those procurement on the materials, that'll be our second sign. Okay. Continuing on with our project updates. The Meeker shop fleet front office remodel. We began this the second week of January. The original schedule has us finished first week of March. That was in the proposed during the budgeting. We've done all selected demo that was complete, which we needed to remove the ceiling to allow us to do new data cabling and low voltage wiring. We got that removed. We did the low voltage wiring is in place. The data cabling is in place. The ceiling grid is now in place. Currently, they are working on prepping the floor for new carpet. We're waiting on we have a new door we're going to be installing on the back side of the office that will allow us to add security to that door. That's been our longest lead item on that project. We're hoping to see that within the next 2 weeks.
End of next week.
In the next week. When we have that door in, we'll finish up the drywall patching and do painting, rubber base molding, and then carpet install. That allows us to get the front office back into their area. I have a site walk this week with our HVAC company to install the new air handlers upstairs. I hope to have that one completed by the end of April. Well, I'm sorry, started in April. Started by the end of March, completed in April, so that project will be buttoned up 100% complete. Justice Center HMI replacement. So this is the computers that operate the touch screens that allow dispatch and control to unlock doors, to allow access for Sallyport, for booking. The units, the computers running them were the original computers from the completion of the project in 2016. It was time, they were end of life, so we elected to replace those. It's still needed to help operate the security of the building. We have those new computers in place, the systems are operating, we're fully functional, and the job is complete. Columbine Park improvements. I have met with the steering committee that is made up of the 4-H Extension Office, a number of 4-H representatives, the instructor for the FFA at the Rangeley High School, and then there was a couple of citizens representing Rangeley at that meeting. We went through, we toured the current offices that we were elected to utilize maybe for the move of 4-H Extension. I think that eased a lot of concern. They realized that we weren't moving them to a shack, that was a nice building. I talked about what was their priority on improvements. They prioritized safety and security, and so part of that project, we also agreed to adding additional lighting out there for the parking areas, to add security access to the buildings, and additional cameras would help in improving the security of that building. They wanted accessibility, so we talked about doing a new front entry to the building that allowed them to open up the building to have classes, so they're kind of open out on the deck area, and then of course overall, where there's areas where we can improve pins and holding areas, you know, for the 4-H animals, we do that. I'm in the process of getting a rendering put together so everybody can kind of see what that looks like for the project. I hope to have that done and everyone get buy off so we can start putting together bidding packages for the different elements of the work this spring, coming April and May, and then that looks like that'll be a pretty good summer project. The next project, of course, is a tower HVAC system replacement. We were having issues. We have a number of tower sites where the HVAC units, the wall mount units, they're getting to end of life. They were put in, you know, manufactured in the late 80s, early 90s. They use a refrigerant system that is going obsolete, and it's highly expensive. And so having a tech up there for one day is about $1,200 to do a repair versus buying a whole new unit for $5,100. So we elected to buy 2 new units. Those units are on order. We hope to have them in the next couple weeks, and then as weather permits to site access, we'll look at replacing 1 unit at the Statman Tower and then 1 unit at Rangeley North that are in the most critical condition. Each tower site has duplicate units that switch between lead and lag, and so we wouldn't see any issues with once we replace those units during that time of having complications with not being able to cool the rooms. The next is the RBC Tower Generator Remote Monitoring System. Currently, right now, we're not able to see what the generators are actually doing on our tower sites. We propose to the board that we take over the next couple of years, the primary tower sites, we have remote monitoring for the Cummins generator systems. We've received a quote and issued a PO on that work, and so the equipment is ordered. We'll have that on site, and then as weather permits, we'll be elected to add the first monitoring to the Marvin Tower site. That'll help us begin to see eyes on the generator and its, you know, what its current condition is it charging, is it, do we have any faults? And then that way it'll help us better be prepared when we go out there to fix it, and also let us know if it doesn't exercise.
You have generators there already?
Yes, we have.
Cummins generator.
Yeah, a combination of Cummins and Generac generators. Next project is the White River Museum improvements. We are looking at going after a Colorado History competitive grant for redoing the roof on the Garrison building. We're working on putting our letter of intent together now. We'll get that submitted here within the next couple weeks. The grant deadline is April 3rd, so we'll have our full grant applications ready to go by the middle of March, and we'll have that submitted and go after those funds. And then the last project on this list is the Rangeley Shop Fleet remodel. We've met with the Road and Bridge Fleet, SO office, and the other entities that use that facility. We walked through what their priorities were, what they would like to see done in the project. Of course, building accessibility and security was number 1. So we look at adding the security access system, the badging system to the building, do some camera systems on the building. We didn't go too far in the weeds further than that, because as the Columbine Park Improvement Project gets done and we kind of see where that goes in the time frame, that will help us determine when and how the 4-H extension office relocates, and then once that's done, that'll open up some other opportunities for use of that facility. And so that's really looking at a late 23 project, you know, a nice late fall, winter project for facilities. So we'll continue to update them. Any questions so far on capital improvements within operations?
Garrison roof, when you fix that, do you have to put that back with the current construction?
So,
How do you do that with a building like that?
I'm told that, that the Colorado history does not have an issue if we don't go back with the cedar shake, but we do a composite, shake that looks, it's a composite tile that looks like cedar shake. That's my preferred to go back with, because it eliminates the oiling, and then of course, those roofs, they tend to couple and have all sorts of issues, so.
But you won't change the physical appearance.
Yeah, it is similar, it's very similar to the shake. We have priced both, going back with regular shake and the synthetic. I like it from a maintenance side of it, but I understand there's some serious historic significance to that. And so it would not be something that was my decision solely. You know, we would review this with the Historical Society and take a look and do some mock-ups to make sure that we're not changing the look of that. They're priced real similar to take it back to regular shake versus doing synthetic tile that looks like shake. It's the same price.
What's the lifespan on the shake versus, I'm guessing it's a 30-year composite, but.
You can get upwards of 15 to 20 years on regular shake, but you have to make sure that you have a pretty good maintenance program on re-oiling the roof and sealing it. Whereas the synthetic shake is the same lifespan, you just don't have to have that program to do the maintenance.
And the synthetic would be much better for fire.
It would, and it definitely holds up a lot if we don't get a whole lot of hail storms here, but it definitely holds up better, you know, to some of the elements and some of those extreme weather events, wind and that type of stuff. But there aren't magnitudes better. Okay. All right, well, thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
One more question, Eric. On the Redino painting project, those funds need to be used by the December of this year. So I just want to make sure that that's still on your radar. And it's still that, I think it's $7,250, I think is what we put in from that grant.
Is that for the Redondo building?
For the inside, yes.
We will get on.
It's growing.
Yeah, it is growing. Thanks, Eric. So do we know if Clint and Karen were,
Clint, it will be calling, Karen will be here.
so we'll
And I did,
go.
like I said, build in a quick little break.
Yeah, short break for a minute.
you hang on one second, I'm gonna conference everybody in and we'll get started.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, can you still hear me?
One brings it forward, good.
Good
Clint,
morning,
can you-
good morning, Clint.
Good morning, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good. Thank you for taking the time to do this interview and your willingness
Sure.
to serve again on the fair board.
Well, you bet.
So I have a couple questions. What are your thoughts on the fair board changing a couple rules to allow kids to be able to show and sell at the county fair without being members of 4-H or FFA?
I don't, I mean, if there is if they have a reason for not, like if they're homeschooled or something, or is that, I mean, it doesn't, I don't, as long as they do their project right, I guess I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, it's
Is
just,
that,
just in general, not
in general?
not homeschooled or anything like that, just giving kids the option to, because right now they can't show under FFA unless they're in high school. So the only other option they have is 4-H. So if they wanted to have any type of project and did not want to go through the 4-H program, like right now, it's my understanding that it's the Fair Board's rule that says that you have to be a member of 4-H or FFA to show and sell under one of those programs.
Is that, oh, wow, that was awful. I did not understand, that was a hard, fast rule. And, I have a tough time because there's always exceptions, and I think there are legitimate exceptions sometimes. And then there are times when families or, a family will try to pull the wool over your eyes, and I hope that members of the board are wise enough to know when that's happening, and then when there's if there's a valid reason why they wouldn't want to join, and they're responsible enough to complete their project without that kind of guidance, I don't have a problem with it. But I guess it's case by case, but I didn't understand that was a black and white rule. So that's shame on me. I didn't realize that. So, I would listen to that family or that student, or, I would want to hear them out before I just got all bullheaded about it, yes or no, you know what I mean, or just a flat say no. I guess the better way of saying that.
I don't think it would be on an individual basis. I think this would have to be looked at as a separate entity altogether, not on an individual
Okay.
basis, but as a group of kids.
Sure. I get, in my attitude for our county fair, and since my kids were always involved, this is a long way to answer that question, I'm sorry. I always thought that the county fair, my opinion, and my position was that the county fair should be preparing the kids so they know what to expect when they go to the Colorado State Fair or the National Western. Because in my mind, those are our premier shows for kids to exhibit their projects, whether Rio Blanco County, there were too many home monopoly rules that, because I remember taking McLean to the State Fair in 2005 and just getting our nose rubbed in it because we weren't prepared. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. So, if there's a contingent group that, could function and do their projects right and be prepared, and, not embarrass themselves or cause trouble, I don't see why it would be a problem. You know, I don't know. I guess that's my gut reaction to it.
Good. That's,
I don't, but I did not know, I guess I haven't investigated criminal safety, I just wasn't aware of that, so.
well, I think you hit the nail on the head, that this is a Rio Blanco County fair, not a CSU fair.
Right.
Nobody else's fair, this is our fair.
Well,
And
and
when we're-
you and I already visited about them trying to influence us to shut down in 2020, and they tried it again in 21, and it gained less traction in 21 than it did in 2020. It's like, no, you don't pay taxes, you don't own these fairgrounds, and the residents of Rio Blanco County and the people that we elect, we set those rules. That is my attitude there, for sure. And so there were a group of kids that had some reasons, sound reason to not want to be members of either of those organizations, then that's fine. I would sure listen to them. So.
Okay.
I don't know what the other board members would do, I can't speak to that.
Sure. Yep.
I would certainly not, if anybody has concerns, I would listen.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
I appreciate you stepping up and doing this, Clint. I don't,
Well, thank you.
you've been doing it long enough, I don't have any questions for you.
Okay, well, thank you. We're not, there's some things that we need, I guess I'd like for you guys to know, because I visited with Renee. Kind of got thrown into a position where we have to answer to her just because of other circumstances. And I know it's kind of a drag on her time because of all of her other responsibilities that probably are a little more important than the county fair, as far as she's concerned. But I have told her that I wish the fair was not a drain on the budget. I think there are too many decisions that we could make to make it at least break even and be self-sustained. Because I know, and you gotta try, but it is a community and long-held attitude that there's too many things activities that we give away. And I would hope before I exited the board, we could and we don't need to make a profit. I'm not trying to be like Renee's Paul, but I think we could at least break even, and that is, whether we charge for parking or, just different things, or have some entertainment, just something to put back in the account, and not always like our embarrassing budget session this fall that I didn't attend. That is my attitude. I would like for you guys to understand that. I don't know if I can get it done, because I'm only one vote, but, would be something that I would like to accomplish.
And Clint,
Getting it in that direction.
I did just think of a question.
Okay.
The fairs are not as big in some of the parts as they used to be. Why do you think that is?
You're very correct. It's a lot of work, a lot of responsibility that I think culturally, nationwide, most of us that enjoy that type of activity with fairs and even youth rodeo people will tell you the same thing. We're a bunch of dinosaurs, compared to all the other choices that are out there. I think ESPN is a cult, and just on the lighter side of things, but, they got everybody thinking they could beat LeBron.
So you don't,
And,
think it's accessibility or anything that we're doing in our local fair
No.
that is making it come down?
oh man, that's a terrible question to ask me.
Sorry.
Because my wife just lying. I guess I should be adult enough to answer that question. There's some, I've had to go to the boss of that particular office because he's been a close friend of mine for 21 years. And there is a deterrent, as far as participation in 4-H goes. They're very, I think J.D. Sexton, the agent in Logan County, clear across the state, said the attitude for the extension service needs to be, how can I help you? And not the attitude of, we're the boss. If that answers that question at all. Yeah, and that's an opinion, that's just conjecture on my part, but, I think Ty kind of knows a little bit how I feel about that too. I just don't know what we can do about it, as a board.
Well, that's kind of where my question was going earlier.
Yeah, it's pretty negative, in a lot of cases.
So if we appoint you to this board, you'll try and turn that around, and next year it's gonna be 200% over?
Yeah, if I have the ability to recruit and encourage, I mean, I would do my very best to encourage participation. I mean, I've been a leader, I've been a volunteer for 30 years, and it kills me when I lose students or members because of things that were beyond my control, that didn't have anything to do with divorce or moving. You know, when it's something right there local, that's hard to watch. And so I believe in the programs, but in my opinion, CSU and their attitude, their enlisted shift, and when you go to Fort Collins, it's a cultural shift over there as well. And they're not what they used to be as far as our land grant agriculture institution. So.
I appreciate it. I kind of use these interviews to catch up on what's going on too, so sorry.
Yeah, and Eric McPhail, who is the overall CSU Western Slope Extension supervisor or boss, I'm not sure exactly what his title is. We visited him ad nauseum after the Gunnison football game this fall. I think we had a 3-hour breakfast and aired out her concerns. She goes, "This is why I resigned. There's an advantage for me to become self-employed, to be my own boss, but here's things you need to be aware of." And so, as far as those kind of things go that are outside the fair board, Tara and I know personally, and my kids know personally, there's some issues, that make it where kids want to do just what Ty's describing.
So maybe the fair board needs to figure out how to make this a Rio Blanco County fair again versus a CSU fair.
Okay, I guess I need to learn better what our latitude is, because I had never accepted an officer position. I've always just kind of been a real good soldier, and my biggest thing was making the sale fun, and I personally focused too much on that, and we accomplished that. I mean, we had 2 record-breaking gross sales, and then a pretty good meal, and tried to make the sale more fun. And maybe if we've got that on an even plateau, I can tackle or put my focus on some other issues like we're discussing right now. I just don't know what kind of latitude we have, so I need to study the rules, or find out, what we can and can not decide, or, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Where do our decision making, what point is it, can we help? I'll do what I can, I certainly do. I encourage it. I love it. I believe in both organizations. I think they do a lot, but yeah, on the local level, we need to heal some things up. There's no question.
All right, well, thank you. We appreciate
You
it.
bet.
Travel safe.
You betcha. Okay.
All right.
You too, and you guys have a good day.
You
All
as
the
well.
other stuff you gotta face.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
All right, bye-bye. All right, Miss Karen's here.
Come on
You wanna
up front,
come
Karen.
up
I don't
over?
know if I want to be up front after that.
Do you remember all the questions?
I can go, yes, no, maybe.
Well, thank you for coming in today. Sorry we're
Sure.
running a little bit late.
That's fine.
As you know, Quinn's a little long-winded.
I've worked with you.
Oh, yeah. So I'll start with the same question as far as, would you be opposed to changing the Fair Board rule that states you have to be a member of 4-H or FFA to show and sell at the county fair?
Change it?
To add,
Oh,
an independent or another, group to where kids had a choice, because right now, in order to show under FFA, you have to be in high school. So the kids' only option is 4-H at the younger age. So if there was a third option, would you, as a Fair Board member, be opposed to adding a third option to that rule?
probably not. Has it been done elsewhere? I'd like to know how that's happening elsewhere. Or is this a new concept?
I don't know if it's been done elsewhere, but my mindset, and it's always been this way, even as the EM, is we're Rio Blanco County, I don't care what anybody else does. Like, what I wanna
I
fix
understand
our
that
county,
too. I
yeah,
understand that one too.
so, I don't know elsewhere, I haven't really looked into that, but I did,
That's interesting. I don't know. I'm thinking those kids that wanna go on to state fair, if they have that requirement that they have to be in 4-H. That might play into it. But I've always been kind of with you. This is Rio Blanco County, and my kids did not go on to state other than with the indoor projects that we're ready to ship off. And I'm an outlier, I guess. I believe this is our county fair. As far as the 4-H, however, I don't believe that we need to step on CSU's, 4-H's, FFA's toes by saying, this is the way we're gonna do it. And if they have rules, we have to pay attention to those also,
oh, absolutely.
in order to let those kids go on to state fair. If that's what's required. So we have, we could probably personalize our fair.
Yeah, I don't wanna step on their toes, I just wanna give the kids
Yeah.
another option.
And that, that's an interesting concept. I've never been approached with it. I don't know. But I don't know why we couldn't, because it is an open fair. And we do have those open 4-H class, or not open 4-H, open livestock classes. Those kids that are not in 4-H FFA could go into open. We could offer an open sale for those kids that wanna be in that area.
Well, I don't think they deserve to be excluded from,
Which they
entire fair.
wouldn't be.
but if you're having a separate, are you saying a separate sale for that?
I don't know. I don't know, Ty, this is new.
Yeah.
They could enter in the open area though. That's already a standard, whether we could incorporate those kids that wanna sell off of the open shows into that sale also. And
Yeah.
that right now it's set up 4-H is big. We have the 4-H beef, we have the 4-H beef, but we also have open beef. And anybody can get into open beef. If there would be a path that we could take those kids that wanna sell out of, as far as their placings in the open and incorporate it in the sale. To begin with, that sale is not billed as 4-H FFA anymore. I think we got away from that a while ago, just in the title. So it's,
Just the
Junior livestock.
junior livestock sale, which, that in itself is non-restricted to that.
Mhm. Okay,
Maybe?
Yeah.
But maybe too. And I'm like, okay. Here's good.
How many years have you been doing that?
Oh, geez, I honestly, I've lost count. It is outdone me. It's outdone me.
But you're right there. You've been there for a while.
Somewhere
So,
behind it.
so let me ask you, why do you think the fairs are not as big as they used to be?
I see it from all the indoor stuff. A lot of women do not can anymore. They do not home sew. We do have artists out there, which is part of the indoor. The kids still draw, but we have a declining population overall that does not have the time to sit down and sew.
So your opinion is that it's the participation and not the access to the fair?
Right. I mean, the access to the fair, I don't see an issue at all. We are so totally open. And it hasn't been too long ago that we extended the program by one day also. We used to have it, I'm gonna say, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the sale on Saturday. We extended that program to Monday now. We start with the dog show on Monday. So it's not, I don't think it's inaccessible.
Do you think, kind of to follow on that, do you think the fair entry program detours some of the older generation? Because I've heard some
They don't like it.
comments. Yeah,
They do
and
not
is
like
that really necessary for, you know, an 80-year-old woman that wants to bring some canned goods in, or her eggs that are chickens laid, or flowers, or whatever? Is that really a necessary step?
I don't think so, because up until this next year, we have always accepted indoor entries Thursday night, or Wednesday night, Thursday night. And we've had volunteers on the computer. I mean, they still bring their stuff in, and they still enter it. We do work. So it's not, and we do encourage people at home to pre-enter. That's awesome. And there are those that we've seen uptick on that. Pre-entries. We've seen an uptick on that, but we still do have people coming in, standing in front of the table with their project, and we enter them. So that shouldn't be a deterrent. It was something new. It was something they were unfamiliar with. They don't have, a lot of them don't have computers. But the office is open. They can come in, they can do a sheet and just drop it off at the office, which I don't think it was a deterrent.
What's the value add? I understand the livestock piece of it, but the indoor projects, what's the value add of having fair entry for those projects?
There is a lot of them. There is a lot of them. I can't remember now. I had Alex do Plum. And he's really up on Fairboard. The entry, I'm not. So I have people in the background. I had asked Alex to run a report as to how many entries we had indoor, and it was in excess of 1,000. And when you try to process 1,000 entries Wednesday night, Thursday morning, it gets to be a little, you know, at that point we were judging Thursday at 10. So you have people bringing in at 9 o'clock Thursday. You still have to organize, get stuff lined out in classes, get them ready for the judges so that the judging is fluid. And that's what I see as a plus on the fair entry side. It gives us, and I'm talking about not only the extension office, but the volunteers that are indoor. It gives us a little bit more time to organize and maybe spot errors. I mean, there are errors, and sometimes if we can get those errors even before the judge sees that it's in the wrong class, if we can get those adjusted before the judge comes in. This next year, we are going to accept all indoor entries all day Wednesday. And we're shutting them down, so that we're gonna have to advertise a little bit harder, because we do have a lot of entries coming in Thursday morning. But we want that time at the end of Wednesday night to organize and spot errors, et cetera, lay out the classes. We wanted that extra time, and that fair entry will allow us that extra time. It's quicker. It is so much quicker.
So if the fair entry program is so important, do you think it's mandatory that every Fair Board member knows how to utilize fair entry, or at least run the program?
I hope not. I don't wanna do any more computer work. That's why I quit treasury.
But
I am no longer an elected
But if
official.
you
I
only-
did not wanna do computer work,
but
but
if you only have one or two people on the Fair Board that understands and knows how to operate the program, how's that fair to the rest of the board?
I've never wanted to do that. There are people out there that will do that. Now, in our defense, when we had Carla Ferrand up here as an interim agent, she was the one that suggested that, and she came from Garfield County, Doug. She was able to get volunteers in who would do computer work. Now, Quentin and Alex have gone further into the workings of the program. Now, as a county treasurer, I was never into the workings of the program of the receiving and the taxes. You know, I knew how to operate my portion of it. But I didn't care what the workings were. I didn't care what the programming was, you know, it's,
But if somebody was interested in it, they should be allowed to do it. It
yes.
shouldn't be kept to.
Shouldn't be kept. If they're really, I mean, if they're functions that they've done, but we have had a terrible time finding volunteers to do that stuff too. So,
I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did good, Karen.
as a Fair Board member, I am the secretary right now. Do you guys want minutes? Or, I think at some point we were supposed to be giving a Fair Board report to the county commissioners probably after the fair.
Yeah, I think it usually happens after the fair. You guys do like an update type thing.
So you don't need before, or like every other month, or
If you think there's something we should know,
I would like the minutes. I would
Would you want
definitely read them. I mean, maybe send them to Janae and you can disperse them.
Mhm.
That way,
we can do that. I don't like to give them out until they are approved, so they're always a month behind.
yeah, it's good.
that's fine.
And they are available up at the extension office if you guys really like backtracking or whatever, but, I know that for a while I was sending them out and I didn't get any response, I didn't know.
Perfect.
Commissioners, just to let you know, the 2022 Colorado State Fair Junior Livestock Competition requirements and breeding competitions all require an active 4-H membership, or Colorado FFA program membership.
Mhm.
There are no exceptions.
Yes. But there are
To show
work,
with the state.
there are workarounds.
There are workarounds in Rio Blanco County.
There, yeah,
So,
I think we'd be open to that.
yeah.
At least to,
I
at
think-
least to talk about it.
I think you would see more involvement. I think your numbers would go up. I do. Just based off of conversations that I've had. I think you would have a lot more participation in the fair, in the projects.
Okay, I'm on the other side, 4-H. I think they do awesome work for the kids also.
But it's just
My
an
mom-
option.
Yeah, my grandkids are learning how to do demonstrations, what they're doing, community projects. I can't hold them back from volunteering now because they have so much fun with the projects.
Yeah, and you
And I
definitely,
wouldn't be following through on it.
and we don't wanna take that away. I mean, if those kiddos wanna continue down that path, then by all means, let them, but give some other, the kids that are excluded now, the opportunity or option to come back in.
I think one of the biggest things that we've seen, we've heard about from the public is that, well, we've always heard you're supposed to be taking a project and seeing what you can make out of it, it's the buy part. Some of these kids are spending small fortunes on animals. That's what we're hearing from the general public, is how to make that floor a little bit more level, but I don't know even how to do that.
Well, I think that's real world stuff, that's real life lessons.
Yeah.
If people are willing to go broke on their project and not have money to put into a project going forward,
Going forward.
then that's their problem.
Yeah.
But then the kids that are smart enough to, you know, they're not gonna have the grand champion animal, but they have an animal that they can make money on and build up their savings so they can continue their project.
And that's what we've kind of been encouraging, is like, well, you guys make the decisions. That's your project, you
Yeah.
make the decisions. We can't stop them from spending $10,000 on a steer.
No,
We can't stop them from competing against a $600 steer. So,
You're running a little bit behind.
yes, sorry.
Sorry.
oh,
Thanks, Miss Vicky.
we're
All
going.
right, thanks, Karen.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Karen.
All right, we'll move on
I'm getting cookies, Vicky.
Good for you.
to the Meeker Cemetery Board with Terry Ivy. Morning, Terry.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. You guys?
Good. First of all, thank you for your willingness to serve on this board.
You're welcome.
Can you tell us a little bit why you want to be involved in the Meeker Cemetery Board?
A couple of years ago, I worked up there all summer, helped out, and I'm still helping out right now, whenever they need somebody, just on-call type of situation. Sat with the board, I've become attached to it. It's such a nice place up there, and I'd like to kind of keep it that way. If they're working, I will get on, try to keep that going on, tradition going on. Very familiar with, definitely the workings of it, what it takes to keep it going. Have sat in a few of the meetings with the board, past board, kind of understand some of it going on, and what they got plans for this year.
Is that going to, if you get on the board, does that affect your working or your volunteering? Or?
I have to read the bylaws, I definitely cannot work for a wage. Like, where I'm just volunteer about that opportunity, so I'm not sure that.
You're okay with that?
If Jerry needs help with services or something, shorthanded, yeah.
So you are familiar with the board workings and
Yes. I had read the rules and regulations, I don't know that stuff yet, just the meeting dates and everything. Several discussions I've had with them.
thank you.
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
I don't have any other questions.
Good.
We'll be making the appointments on the 28th, correct?
Okay.
We don't want you to increase any activity up there.
No, I don't. Right now, it's a little rough.
Okay.
All right,
All
thank
right,
you.
thanks, Terry. All right, we'll move on to public health with Public Health Director and an update. Morning, ladies.
Hello, my name is Michaela Sheridan. I'm the new public health director. I am very new to public health, so I've only been here for a couple weeks. So I'm just kind of learning all of the different programs and stuff as we do have our clinics up and running. We have Rangeley and Meeker signing up for vaccinations. So that's been really good. I'm working on getting the family planning up and running again. Our staffing in Rangeley will be changing. The environmental health specialist is no longer working for us. We are also hiring for the WIC educator, as Mary Dillon, our current WIC educator, will be retiring next month. The biggest thing that we're working on right now is our harm reduction grant, and
regarding the harm reduction grant. Janae, you have any questions regarding the harm?
No, I worked with, Beth and Kylie before the kids came on board to kind of get that budget and everything, kind of put together for that. I believe that, that has been submitted and we will hear back hopefully June, March. So you're close. It'll start for this next state fiscal year if we do receive that funding.
Can you give me an overview of what harm reduction program is?
So I had worked, with a nonprofit organization to bring them into our county. I've been working with her for a couple months. We haven't actually implemented yet. But we did a community health assessment to start with that, and one of our needs of our community, saw we talked through the mental health substance use, and so that kind of gave us our drive of how to come up with our public health improvement plan to, meet the community need. And so, I had connected with Hyraki's Harm Reduction, and she has a mobile unit that would come service our county one time a month. And she would provide, Narcan, naloxone distribution and training and education, care services, clean needle exchange, HIV, HCV testing, and then also with warrant handoffs to legal aid, housing, et cetera, to our partners. And so I was gonna have her come do that when this harm reduction grant became available so that we could expand on those services and hopefully, get her started in here more than just one time a month. And then also bring in, a peer support specialist, to help provide peer services for those that are needing it, which I think is the biggest thing in reducing harm with substances is support. We have a support system and that outpatient treatment isn't for everybody, but offering an alternative to that to help keep the, need down in the legal system, criminal justice system. And then of course, this can help, spread communicable disease, which is our part of public health, and provide prevention and education. So that's kind of the public health standpoint from it and what we'll be doing with this grant.
So am I hearing that this is like a, who's your clientele?
Those currently living with, substance use disorder.
Do you think there's enough here to justify that and you don't think that's gonna promote that?
No, it's been shown that, providing these services doesn't increase, because we are one of the last counties to come in with this kind of service. But it doesn't increase the use or the want to use, but it helps. It changes their mindset and behavioral patterns that if they're going to reduce harm, then maybe they can make changes elsewhere. Any other questions? That's all we have.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. All right. We will take a 9-minute break and start back up at 10 o'clock with a SC update. You stood up, everybody shut up. Except for one time.
Except for my son.
It only takes one time.
It only took one time.
My son will be.
All right,
Oh, yes, he did.
it's 10 o'clock and we will resume the work sessions. We will continue on with the MCCIC update with various speakers.
Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for meeting with us today.
Good morning.
Somewhere along the way in December, I had a person tell me that they understood the Commissioners had expressed their desire to have a new board appointed to MCCIC. The current board was not at full capacity, and the Commissioners seemed to have some problems with that. At the next meeting, MCCIC meeting, or at the next meeting, we discussed the proposal that none of the present board members wanted to serve on the new board. We discussed how the proposal could take place. We decided to get a committee of Meeker residents that might be interested in serving on the new MCCIC board. I went home and got on the phone. I started calling everyone I thought would be a great board member. I have to say I was truly humbled by the response I had from these people. Most of them had no idea how MCCIC operated with the commissioners, but I assured them that if they would volunteer, I would educate them. Not all of them were interested in serving on the board, but every one of them were very interested in supporting the seniors living in the apartments. I had hoped to get 8 or 10 people to help with this committee, and I gratefully ended up with 12. We met last Wednesday evening with all but one member who was out of town, and the present board in attendance. We had a really good meeting, and I'm very comfortable that they have a good grip on the concerns the seniors have. We plan on keeping this committee together as long as necessary to help MCCIC get on better footing. We would welcome any suggestions from you as to how we can help make that happen. With your permission, I would like to introduce our group. First, we have Mona Avey, and as you can see on the paperwork, she has applied for the board. We have Scott Marsh, who's also applied for the board. Sherry McCord has applied. Diana Seeley has applied. Kathleen Thorsby has applied. Sherry Calandris, Bud Ridings, Chloe Turner, Shane Phelan, Jenny Love, Belinda Parker, and Elaine Jordan have also applied to just be on the committee. And Vicki has my application also. But my situation is I would like to just be a 6th voice on the board, perhaps a lieutenant advocate, until we're able to get a lease agreement in place, at which time I would resign. But I very much want to be involved with a lease and how we're going to move forward.
All right. So how many member board,
5.
where I know it's currently 5.
It's supposed to be 5.
It's supposed to be 5.
Bylaws say.
Bylaws say 5, right? Existing bylaws. And are we keeping it? I can't remember.
I thought it was changed to 3 and we're gonna have to go back.
I have one letter that says it was 3, and it was from Teresa Anderson to someone that had applied for the board. And Vicki, didn't you research? And
We
try
did
to-
a lot of research, but couldn't find anything in the commissioner meetings where it had been changed to 3, although that's the way it's been operated for
It has,
many years.
yes.
So 2009, 8, 9 is when it would have changed to the 3 that I could find. 'Cause I think that's
Officially, if
interesting.
it hasn't changed, we don't have to change it back.
No, it really is the commissioners, and John would be the one to do this from a legal standpoint. You can instruct the MCCIC to modify their bylaws to set however many members that you as the board would like. You can set those instructions. One thing, just to make sure that everybody knows, MCCIC is the manager, the leasee of the apartments. does not tie into the residents at all. Although they would certainly be a voice for the residents, you know, we need to do this, we need to do that. Again, MCCIC is the lessor. It would be like any other type of property manager that you might have in an apartment complex where there's an owner, and then there's an apartment manager, and then there's the residents. So those two don't necessarily have to partner for everything. Does that make sense? I just wanna make sure that that was clear on there. So, one thing I think that Dawn wanted to mention is in December, the commissioners instructed Dawn to send a letter that lease would not renew. So the lease has not renewed. However, that doesn't mean that doesn't associate to any residents or anything being kicked out of the apartments or anything like that. It just means that there needs to be that agreement between the lessor and the lessee.
And that's all it is
And that's
just
all it
the agreement that hasn't been modified since 2001.
2001. And Janae and Dawn did work on that together, so I'm sure Janae and us.
Sure, absolutely.
So Janae and Dawn did work on it. There were some things we needed to correct as far as who plowed the sidewalks.
There's a
and
lot of
who did it.
things on that that are not suitable to us.
Okay, then what we need to have back from MCCIC is what items you do not agree to.
I would rather start over with the one that we sent you guys on 6/21, sent the commissioners. It was totally ignored. And that's the one I would rather start with and work off of that one, because there's so many things on that one that Mr. Stearman put out that are just absolutely unacceptable.
Because I think we based that off the original
No,
agreement.
it's
No,
not
it's
even
not.
close.
even close.
Not
Not
even
even
close.
close.
It's
Exactly.
not, I could point 10 things on there that have nothing to do with the original. I mean, it was, no, it's totally unacceptable to even negotiate on that as far as we're concerned.
Ms. Jordan?
I have a question, because this was something that was brought up in the meeting that we went to. The 2001 lease, the original 2001 lease, when the city sold to the county, the whole Fairfield thing, that lease was for 10 years. And my question was, what lease have you been working on since 2011?
It's been swept under the rug for a while.
So I would say that we're still operating under that 2001 lease, even though the length of it, as Dawn has told me, is 10 years, because we haven't ever canceled that or done a new lease. We're pretty much still kind of operating under that as this time. However, during one of our single audits, it was brought up that this lease is outdated and needs to be renewed.
So basically it was grandfathered in, sort of, until now.
Yes, and so that's one thing that we have been trying to get done, and that's kind of why we keep bringing this up, is we need to get it, we need a new lease, we need to get it renewed, that sort of thing.
Well, we offered, in June of 21, we offered a new lease to.
In June of-
Got no response
When was that?
until August,
This was the first one.
June 21.
June.
I think that's right.
Sharon, what other, you said, concerns, do you have any, what are your
On the lease that was
concerns?
offered.
No? We could say the lease is one of your concerns.
Okay.
What else are you concerned about?
I'm concerned about needing some backup on, helping us maintain, and, the last memory that Bill Jordan and I have of the commissioners doing anything of capital improvements down there is, was in 2011, when they put in some new heating things. And basically, we haven't had any response for years, from the commissioners as to putting money into it for various reasons.
So improvements
Improvements is huge. We basically, as long as you guys continue to provide a maintenance person for us, we can month to month easily, as long, with the capital improvements and the maintenance person. And in that contract that Don put out to us, he eliminated, a maintenance person for us. In turn, what we were paying as reimbursement, $30,000 a year reimbursement on the maintenance person's wages, he turned that into rent income. And then there's one line in there that says, the lessees will be, responsible for cleaning the snow. Everybody lives there 62 years old and older, you know. That line made no sense. There's just, that lease just line by line needs to go away.
What do we need to do? Do we need to get appoint a board first, and then meet with the board to work on the lease, or do we need to get a lease, and then, or what's the chicken or the egg?
I don't know, I was just thinking about that, so I think that we need to get a board together and then work on the direction that they wanna go. And then we can work on the lease.
I agree with that.
I do too.
What other
That-
concerns do you have?
That's, just basically the support for us. You know, that this lease basically told me and most everybody else that, you know, we're done with you guys.
That's
And
not
you
true.
guys are on your own, you know,
No.
so try to, that's the message I think that all of us got, because
Well, we put in the new parking lot. Last year, we bought the boiler, one boiler, and then have one on the shelf currently. I mean, there's nothing, and I think that's the big misconception here. And we've had this discussion with you and the board from the get-go, in my opinion, we've held true to it. We have not made any decisions without you. There haven't been any surprises. We've included you in all of this. So all this is just trying to work forward and move forward
I
for
agree.
what is best for the residents. Because I think we can all agree in this room that the intended use of that facility needs to stay the same. I
And why
think
did you
we can
guys
all-
send that letter from Mr. Stearman with all that criteria in it?
I would have to,
You guys sent it.
Well, this was the original, what happened is the original lease was dated or the original, notice was on October 27th. After we received, some information that there were some things in there, we wanted to go back and relook at that. Janae and Dawn, there was a couple of things, and I think you wanna address the person, the maintenance person.
Yes.
The lessor should be the one that does the plowing and snow removal. And, there's also, maintenance, lawn maintenance, which was not included in this one.
When was that new one sent, Vic?
We didn't actually send that out. Dawn
Oh, we
wanted to
haven't
wait.
sent it out
No,
yet,
we
okay.
revised that part, because we were waiting for the board to be set so that we could have that work with the board.
Okay.
So
Then why did they
were
get a
working-
letter from Mr. Stearman with all that criteria in it?
That was on October 27th, and then the December 31st one was that we still had not received the lease. That's when we went back through, and again, there is no lease agreement right now. That's the important part, is to get this lease put together. That's why we're hoping to get board appointments so that we can work to get the lease done, because there is no lease at this time, from my understanding.
no, you're correct, there is no.
And they were working on the lease that we sent you
Well, that letter
originally.
from
They-
Mr. Stearman was pretty threatening.
That's why they were working.
Can I clarify? On the lease agreement, it says the lessor are the county commissioners. The lessee is MCCIC.
Right.
Correct.
And there, like I said, the lawn, the plowing and in fact, we didn't even have the grass mowing or mowing lawn maintenance on there. So that was changed to lessor.
There's a few mini changes that were done to this lease that was sent out on October 27th that Don and I worked on in December and January. And that's where Vicky's saying I think we were waiting to get the board together for MCCIC and then work with that board to work on the lease so that we could take that step and move forward. I think that was kind of the process.
But we,
And so
we
that's
haven't
where we're at.
received- We haven't received anything other than the October 27th lease.
So there's changes in there, cause I worked with Dawn, cause there were a few things I went back to the original lease and I said, no, this isn't correct, we need to change that. And so there
Sounds
are
like you
those
guys need to communicate better.
changes in there, so
Well, we
just
still need a board to work with though.
There was a board at the time.
The problem with that is the messages, the messaging, we would have many workshops, many executive sessions, many meetings. But as soon as that was done, the message that was taken away from that was not consistent.
Well, first they get the letter from Mr. Stearman, threatening letter, and then they hear nothing.
No,
That's not true.
you don't know the past. You
Has
don't
Sharon
know
received
what we have.
anything?
I don't know, I
No.
know that she's had,
She's
we've
got nothing.
been in constant communication with Sharon.
Well, there was a follow-up in December,
Yeah, the
October,
December
that was the one.
29.
That's
And
what
that's
we're
what
doing here.
That's
Okay.
That's what we're doing here today, okay?
Mhm.
So forget all that, that's why we're here.
Okay,
We're going to move forward and try and get a board appointed and work with the board so that we can get this contract figured out,
That's
figure out
totally,
where we're going.
that's totally where I'm going to.
Right.
And
So-
where, what I have told the committee.
Okay.
But, you know, I just thought it was great to have this many people care that
Yes.
much.
Yes,
And, you know, the ones that have applied, and it's totally up to you guys who you apply, if you have other interests in it, you know, this is your decision. But these people want to stay together as a committee. If we can have, you know, need to further look into things, we all wanna stay together and help you guys. You know, whatever direction we can go to all work together to come to a place where we can all live comfortably.
right. We want to keep the attitude of working together and not lawyer to lawyer.
That's, I didn't put your lawyer here.
I know, I just want to,
I
we're
agree,
here, we're all here for the same
I
reason.
agree,
Let's take care of it separately.
totally. I agree, we're all adults and
So
we
we,
talk it through.
Sharon, you said that all of those individuals that you just listed off at the beginning of this, have they applied? Do we know? Because we've only received one application.
I have,
We've
after
got-
applications
We've
right
got
there.
them here.
Well, I, no,
We've
I
got 'em
have
last
made a
in
copy for
application.
Vicky.
Do we have the actual application?
Yeah, so
I
why,
thought there
Oh,
was
you
one.
have them?
why,
Oh, you-
no, I don't know where they just came from, they're,
This is
Sharon
the,
has, Sharon has.
Oh,
oh,
okay, so
this
here's
is
the
the
application.
original.
Okay, cool.
so,
Just so that we can have
The-
them in hand.
so shouldn't these
Okay.
applications go to you, Becky?
Yes.
So these applications need to go to Vicky from here on out and not be passed around, they need to go to Vicky, and then Vicky can get them on the workshops for the interviews, and we can take care of that.
Which we have set aside the 21st. You guys wanted to do a special work session in Meeker on the 21st. And so I'll just need to go through, we've got a couple other interviews to do on the 21st. For the library board is another one that you've got several appointments for, so I'll just have to coordinate these. Jennifer had asked that we start no earlier than 10 so that she can make it here.
I think we start at 6.
Are you
I'll let her know that.
going,
Yeah.
are you gonna advertise for this board of?
This is already.
It's been advertised.
Yeah.
I need to get my
And-
feet first page.
Yeah, on the website, really tight.
It was-
And we actually changed it up and did it a little different. Instead of just putting it in the little section back in the wanted ads, actually took out quarter page.
It was the bottom, I think it was an
Yeah,
8-page
on the front.
color,
Okay.
full color at the bottom.
Better wait, that's.
I'll go get me a
2 weeks.
subscription.
Yeah.
Put it on Facebook, Mona would see.
Yes.
So I'll be in touch with everyone, as far as trying to schedule interviews. If you can kind of think of that February 21st after 10 a.m.
Are you gonna go as a five
It's
or
a
a
Tuesday.
Five,
five?
because the existing bylaws
Say five.
say 5.
On the website, it does say 3 board
Yeah.
members.
It
When
does.
you go to click on there.
Yeah, and that was back from what Sherry had, we found an old email from,
Yeah, the letter.
the letter,
Actually,
but
from
we couldn't
from
find
Teresa
anything where the
Anderson.
commissioners acted on it. However, at some point, the original website that we had before, the new one, had it at 3 also. So somewhere in there, there was some decision that just didn't get documented as well.
So we'll appoint 5, and then one of the first things that I would suggest that that board do is come up with new bylaws. Some new bylaws that are up to date.
Revised.
Well, we need probably, the bylaws say 5 board
Yeah.
members. You know, but they're the originals that I have from 1974. But they do say 5. And they say how they're appointed and how they're staggered with years and stuff.
So, that's a good point. When we appoint these, do we need to appoint for the staggered year?
I think they need to be,
We do need to.
Yes.
as it changes, so at least you have some knowledge on board still.
So should we give them an opportunity to put on their applications what position they're looking for?
I think maybe
Or we could do
we
that
could
in
actually,
interview?
because you're not gonna actually appoint until the 28th unless you run out of time interviewing.
Right.
Unless
We
you
could
wanna
ask-
push that down to the next
We
meeting
could
in
ask
March,
them
the
to
March
interview
14th.
where
So you could ask that as you go along and just know that you wanna stagger those boards, or stagger those terms.
Well, it sounds to me like the MCCIC board and the Board of Commissioners need to get this stuff in writing. Because like I said, I'm new to this, except for 1972 when I was on the original Fairfield thing. But they need to get this stuff in writing, because like I said, all this thing, you say it, it's like, oh, well, yeah, that was from 2001, that was from whenever, and nothing is in writing, and that's where you're gonna get in trouble, so.
And there's no paper trail.
And that's really what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're trying to clean up this entire
Absolutely.
process.
And that sounds like what's going on with this 21st meeting. Get the interviews, get them appointed, and then sit down and do
Yeah, we
this.
just want you to be comfortable that we want the buildings to stay to the same purpose that they are right now. And we're not trying to run anybody out, we just want you to be involved with your future, or the future of those buildings.
And I think that's always been our message and our intent, as the board, last year, when we first started to take on this process, is we wanted you involved. And we didn't want anybody to be uncomfortable or think that they're gonna be kicked out or evicted or anything like that, because the intended use is what it's intended for. And I don't think there's anybody here that wants to see that change. But we just have to go through the process of cleaning it up.
I agree, totally agree.
So on the 21st, we're gonna start.
Interviewing. Okay.
All right, anything else? Mona?
No, I just gotta go home and look in the mirror and talk to myself.
No, you're gonna get a paper. You're gonna get a
I would get a
paper.
paper first and then go home and look in the mirror and talk to myself very strongly.
But again, to be clear, on the 21st, you're going to interview the candidates for the MCCIC board and ask them if they want to be 1, 2, or 3 years. And then the following week, you would make the actual decision
On the
with
20th.
that board, the 28th. And then hopefully, you guys get together.
I'm gonna tentatively say the 28th, but based on, we also have 5 library
Yeah,
board
I
interviews,
understand that, but.
which is another topic altogether, and however many applications there are here. So we may end up having to punch some of those to the next,
Next week.
The
Yeah.
21st
That's
is
the
a
plan.
work session. and
just work session
28th is
only.
meeting.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, that's
Mhm.
the plan.
That's the plan.
But to get this stuff down in writing.
And happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
We've got snacks on the way out.
all right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, we're early.
Go on break
You
until
wanna talk longer?
11. I know, I tried.